This is CBB Today. I'm Spencer Ostroff, and we are back with another AP poll reaction. We had a lot of action this past week, a lot of teams losing, some teams having some nice wins. So we'll talk about what I agree with, what I disagree with, the teams that went up, and the teams that went down. We do these every single Monday, so hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and without further ado, we will hop into the number one team in the country. And at number one, for the first time all season, is the Michigan Wolverines, and this feels a little bit long awaited. Obviously, they had the loss to Wisconsin, and people thought the sky was falling a bit. It's not. They're back. They just beat UCLA by 30. They play Purdue tomorrow at Mackey, and then Duke on Saturday, which might be the biggest regular season game ever. Maybe most highly rated. They're 1-2 in KenPom, so we'll see. I'm very excited for both of those. Michigan's been playing great. There's nothing bad to say about them. Even when they looked bad against Northwestern, they were down 16 in the second half. They end up winning by double digits. So they've shown that they can be a little inconsistent, but they've also shown that they can fight against that adversity. So, yeah, they have 6 regular season games left. I expect them to go at worst 5-1, but I honestly expect them to go 6-0, which sounds crazy, but I think they're that good. But look, they could go 3-3. I don't think they will, but they could, because you still play at Illinois, at Purdue, neutral against Duke, at Iowa, and home against Michigan State. So it's kind of a gauntlet, but look, it's going to be a gut check for Dusty May's squad. So I'm sure they're happy to have the 1 next to their name this week. I'm sure their fan base is very happy because they've been, kind of waiting for it ever since Thanksgiving. So yeah, Michigan's at 1, and we will move on to the number 2 team in the country. And moving up 1 spot, back in the top 2, we have Kelvin Sampson's Houston Cougars, and I think this is very rightfully so. Houston kind of went under the radar for a couple months there in December and January. They have the neutral court loss to Tennessee. They have the road loss to Texas Tech. Besides that, they handle their business, and they do it quietly, just like they do every single year. Kingston Fleming's still having a great year. Chris Senak's starting to come into his own. Obviously, you have the veterans in the backcourt with Sharp and Uzan, and then Tugler's one of the best defensive players in the country. This team is built for March. That's the best way to put it. They are destined for another Final Four run. They beat Utah and Kansas State this past week, and then they have Iowa State tonight at Hilton, which will be one of the best games we have all season. And then they play Arizona at home this Saturday, in which is going to be one of the best doubleheaders we've ever seen, with Duke versus Michigan and then Houston versus Arizona. So I'm very excited for that. I hope you guys are excited. Let me know who you have winning those 2 games. But yeah, Houston, they're at 2, and I think they're going to stay at 2. I think Michigan will stay at 1 and Houston will stay at 2, and then everyone will be fighting for 3, 4, and 5. But yeah, Houston's 2. I'm happy to see them back up there, and we will move on to number 3. And at number 3, moving up 1 spot, we have the Duke Blue Devils. And this, again, is, I think everyone's perfectly fine with this. I think a lot of people would want them at 2. I think you can interchange them with Houston. And again, Duke right now, they're in good position to be the 1 seed out in the East, which they care more about than being ranked 2 in the AP poll. So they handled their business this past week. They beat Pittsburgh and they beat Clemson. Both games, that game was at Pitt, and then Clemson was at Cameron Indoor. They then play Syracuse at Cameron Indoor. They're 20-point favorites in that tonight. And then the main event in Washington, D.C. against Michigan. One of the highest rated regular season games we've ever seen. 1 versus 2 in KenPom. The stars will be out. So I'm very excited for that. I will be at that game, so I will try and capture some content. And yeah, so we have Michigan, Houston, and Duke. And then now we will move on to number 4. And at number 4, I did not think I would be saying this at this time last week. The Arizona Wildcats, they lost 2 games after starting 23-0. They lost at Kansas and then home against Texas Tech. Now, at Kansas, it's the toughest place to play in the country. That's okay. You lose at home to Texas Tech as 10-point favorites. Granted, Koa Pete did not play the second half. I understand. I think you still need to win that game. And I like Arizona, right? I root for that. I like a lot of the players on that team. I like Burries and Pete. I like Jaden Bradley, Karchenkov. I love those guys. But I'm going to call it how I see it. You probably should win that game at home, even when Koa Pete isn't playing the second half. So, look, Arizona stays at number 4. They don't drop any more than that. They control their own destiny. They want that 1 seed out west. You have 6 games left. Go 4-2. I think 4 losses gets you that 1 seed with how many good wins you have. So I think, as long as Koa Pete comes back and is playing healthy, I think Tommy Lloyd knows everything Arizona wants is right in front of them. And I really doubt, I know the fans are panicking. I don't think the players or coaching staff is panicking. So Arizona's at number 4. They have a big game versus BYU this week and then at Houston this Saturday. So let me know who you guys have winning those games, and we will move on to the number 5 team in the country. At number 5, we have a team that I've been very, very critical of basically for the last 2 months. It's the UConn Huskies. And UConn, they won at Butler. They won 80-70, and then they beat Georgetown 79-75 in Hartford, I believe the game was, not Stores. Whatever. It was a home game for UConn. Alex Karaban, I think, became the winningest Husky of all time, so congratulations to him. But yeah, I mean, why are you only beating Georgetown by 4 points at home? I gave them a pass when they beat Georgetown by like 3 points in Washington, D.C., but it gets worrying. If you're a UConn fan and you're not a little worried about them, then I think you're kind of in denial. I think, again, they have talent. They have the best coach in the country, arguably. I think they can get it figured out, and I think they will get it figured out. I think they can still make a Final Four run. I'm just saying right now, I just don't think they look very good. Obviously, they lost to St. John's. They play Creighton, and then they play at Villanova. That's a very big game. Villanova is the 3rd best team in the Big East. On the road, show that you're legit. You lose that game, and I'm probably out on the Huskies. But you win that game, then beat St. John's at home, and you're getting hot at the right time going into March. So I think UConn will be fine in the long run. Just right now, I just have not loved the way they've looked. But, that can all change. So UConn's at 5, and we will move on to number 6. And at number 6, we have Iowa State dropping 1 spot. And yes, they did beat the brakes off of Kansas, but they also lost at TCU. And look, we've said it so many times, it's hard to win on the road in college basketball, especially in conference. So they'll get a pass for the TCU game. Is it a little worrisome? Yeah. But they responded very, very nicely. They started a little slow against Kansas in those first 8 minutes, but then they just lit it up. They were up 23 points at one point. They ended up winning 74-56. Like I previously mentioned, they play Houston tonight at the Hilton Coliseum. So, you probably want to win that game. I'm not, what I'm saying. Like at home, you're supposed to win that game. It's not like, if we lose to Houston, who really cares? If you were at Houston, I would say that. At home, you win this game, okay? Because you can move up that seed line still. That 1 seed is still very much in reach for the Cyclones. So they have Houston, then they play at BYU, at Utah, home against Texas Tech, and then at Arizona, and then they finish off with Arizona State. But yeah, Iowa State, I love watching them. I love their team, and I'm very excited for tonight's game. So yeah, Iowa State's at 6, and we will move on to number 7. At number 7, we have a team that might be peaking at the right time, the Purdue Boilermakers. Now, Purdue was killing Nebraska. And then they let Nebraska come back. They went to overtime, and they pulled it out. Oscar Clough had a big and one towards the end of the game. And then, obviously, we saw Jamarcus Lawrence slip on the sideline. There was all that controversy. Who actually cares? Before that, they beat Maryland and Oregon, which you're expected to do. So they're on a little 4-game winning streak because after the Nebraska game, they went to Iowa and destroyed them. They killed Iowa. So, yeah, 4-game winning streak. Headed into the Michigan matchup at Mackey. I'm expecting Michigan to be favored by like 1.5 points, maybe 2. We'll see. I think that spread should come out sooner than later. I'm very excited for that game. I'm very, very excited. I know Purdue fans are not very fond of Dusty May after he tried to get Braden Smith to leave Purdue. So yeah, it's gonna be loud there. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be an insane environment. I hope everyone that is going has a lot of fun. Let me know who you guys have winning that game. I think Michigan's gonna get it done, but I'm kind of rooting for Purdue. So don't shoot me. I'm going to be honest. So yeah, Purdue's at 7. They play Michigan tomorrow, and we will move on to number 8. And at number 8, we have a team that had a similar week to Iowa State. And I'm not just saying that because they played each other, but because they had a very big win and then kind of a letdown loss. And when I say letdown loss, they weren't supposed to beat Iowa State, but that game was supposed to be a little closer than it was. So it was a very high and then very low. And Iowa State was very low and then very high to end the week. So kind of similar. Kansas has Oklahoma State and Cincinnati coming up. They probably should win both those games because after that they have Houston and Arizona. in that 4-game stretch, you want to go 3-1. 2-2 is not going to kill you. Just don't do anything worse than that. And, you don't want to unravel after that kind of loss in Iowa State or at Iowa State. So I think Kansas will be fine. They've actually looked great the better half of 6 weeks now. Even when Peterson hasn't been playing, Melvin Council stepped up. Flory Benuga's like the most improved player in the country. He might be the defensive player of the year. So, yeah, they have 6 games left. After UConn and Arizona, it's Arizona State and Kansas State. So out of those 6 games, go 4-2, go 3-3 at worst, and you'll get a 3 or 4 seed in the tournament. And I think everyone in Lawrence will be happy after the little bit of a rough start to the season. So Kansas at 8, and let's move on to number 9. At number 9, we have Nebraska Bowl. And, they've kind of been hovering around the 7, 9, 10 area. They got up to 5, but then they lost the game to Michigan. They lost to Illinois. They lost to Purdue, but then they bounced back. They beat Northwestern. It was a little bit of a scare for a bit, but look, they got it done. They have at Iowa and versus Penn State. Win both of those games. Price Sanford, homecoming. He can break the Nebraska single season 3-point record, so that would be cool to do at his own school. You play versus Maryland, at USC, at UCLA, and then versus Iowa again. So in those 6 games, you really want to go 5-1. 4-2 is okay, but you can still get a 2 or 3 seed in March. Go 5-1. And go 6-0. Why not, right? Why not? Win that game at Iowa. That's the toughest game remaining on your schedule. Go win it. Why not, right? So Nebraska, fun, cool, fun to watch, honestly. And they're not just a cute story anymore. They're a good team. They're a good team in the Big Ten that's going to win a game or 2 or more in March Madness. So, yeah, Nebraska, they're a top 10 team in the country. They're number 9, and we will move on to number 10. And to round out the top 10, we have the Illinois Fighting Illini, who have kind of had a consistency issue as of late. Now, they went on the big winning streak. They lost to Nebraska way back in December 13th. They won 14 games in a row, 13 games in a row, and then they lost 2 games in a row. So, look, you lose at Michigan State, no one is going to, blame you. It's at Michigan State. It's a tough place to play. You lose at home to Wisconsin. Now I know. No Boswell. No Stojakovic. You're playing with 6 guys, basically. You probably should still win that game. It's kind of, I don't want to say worrisome, but when Wagler has 34 points and you're not getting the job done, and I get it, Wisconsin's backcourt, when they're firing on all cylinders, they're a tough team to beat. But in Champaign, we want to see you win that game. And you had a nice bounce back against Indiana. You have 5 games left. Go 4-1, right? You play at the California schools. You play Oregon, you play Maryland, and you play Michigan at home. Go 4-1, and you'll have that top 3 seed that you want. Go 4-2, lose a game you probably shouldn't lose, and you get to 7 losses. It's going to be tough. The committee can only do so much for you. So I'm excited to see how they end. They're one of my favorite teams to watch. I'm a big fan of their backcourt, and David Mirkovic has slowly become one of my favorite players. He's hilarious. So, yeah, Illinois is at 10. That'll round out the AP top 10 this week. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. It was a lot of fun to make with all the moving parts we had. We had, obviously, a new number 1 team for the first time since the beginning of December. So, I enjoyed making that video. I hope you guys enjoyed. We have recaps, previews, breakdowns, analysis during the week. So hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of the new videos. We're going to have tons of content coming out for March Madness. We're going to do in real life stuff and also, behind the desk like this doing some breakdowns. So hit that subscribe button and I will see you guys next time. CBB today. Peace.